7:08 a.m. on with Dave and Matt in the morning, and as promised, we have in the studio, live and in color, is City Councilman Jeff Griffith. Good morning, Councilman.
Good morning, Matt. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning. This is a radio and TV magnate in Lubbock. No, not radio and TV. TV and appliance magnate. Yeah.
I don't have any radios.
I'll give you a plug, man. You
Thank
do
you.
Radio Lab.
Man, y'all don't do
My gosh,
stereos
Radio
out there?
Lab goes back to the 40s, doesn't it?
We started in 1946.
1946. And that's the reason it was called Radio Lab, because back then all the radios had tubes. And
yes.
Radio Lab, that's where you took your radio and they did their little thing and decided which tubes need to be replaced.
That's right. And thank goodness radios don't need tubes anymore.
Isn't that the truth?
So everybody listening out there's got a great, much more technologically advanced radio that we're listening to. But I'm very proud that we've been in business 73 years.
That's, there's not very many of them. One of my clients, Bolton, they've been in business since 1949. I didn't realize that Radio Lab had been in business that long. But
well, I know I don't look that old, right?
Yeah, no, you don't. You don't look a day over 40.
Thank you, sir.
But anyway, tube-type radios, business in 1946, thus the name Radio Lab. I suggested to Jake one time that we change it.
Well,
and he said, we're not going to change the name.
I think that there's...
No,
That's a great question.
Now, you did kind of change it. Y'all changed it to the, was it Brand Source Radio Lab?
Brand Source
because that's where you get your appliances from, right?
Well, Brand Source is and y'all are too kind to give me this plug, but Brand Source is a independently owned appliance electronics buying group, co-op.
Right.
We have $19 billion worth of
buying
retail in our group. And in fact, I used to be a regional president for the organization and was on the national board of directors for many years before I was on city council. That took almost as much time as city council. But let me tell you, that's how we compete as an independent retailer against big boxes. Our buying power is that strong with manufacturers.
Napa does the same thing. Napa is owned by local people. Okay. And they have Napa as a company buys parts, and they relabel it as Napa parts. And I mean, their oil's made by Valvoline. And anyway, that's kind of how Napa was created as well. So
I didn't realize that. That's an interesting story.
Well, anyway, I just wanted to give you that plug. I have a long history that goes back to the 70s with Radio Lab. I used to do advertising for you guys, and there's a whole lot of people that love to do business local, and I'm just telling you that Radio Lab is one of the great local businesses in Lubbock.
And you might even save a lot of money from the box stores. So,
I assure you, we can compete with anybody, or else you wouldn't be in business 73 years.
That's exactly right.
So
you're exactly right.
I can compete with anybody, but thank you very much. I'm humbled by your.
Now moving on to, of course, you're a city councilman, Jeff Griffith. And last night was the city council meeting, and you talked about a lot of interesting things, I'm sure, one of which was probably the biggest thing was the budget. Huh?
Yes, we did pass the budget.
What'd you do to us?
We increased the property tax rate by 1 cent.
Which is almost 2%.
It's the by law, the way I read it, the tax rate increases 4.07% due to new growth, Matt. But the way that it works, and I spoke about this last night, I want everybody to understand, it's the last thing you want to do is increase the tax rate. I mean, it's the very last thing you want to do. The reason we did this, and we've talked about this for almost 2 years, is our plan for the police substations and community policing. We're already doing community policing, but as y'all know, and we need to be brutally honest about how great our city is, but we have big city crime issues, especially with property crime.
Certainly do.
And so this has been a plan for a long time. I mean, to get to not just to increase, and we added 12 new officers. We even added a bomb robot. You don't realize that the way, if you did have a issue with a bomb in the city, that now you have a bomb team that goes in that is obviously outfitted to endure that horrific kind of incident.
And the policeman with the least seniority is the one that got to unwrap the bomb. Right?
Well, they may send me in there.
Maybe that's why they bought a robot. That sounds like a good idea.
But we actually, it's $230,000 plus U.S. built bomb robot. That way, you send a robot in to dismantle instead of humans.
Yeah,
so
good idea.
Would we be the only? Would Lubbock be the only city in anywhere in this area that had one? And would Lubbock be, for example, if something happened on the South Plains College campus in Levelland or something, would Lubbock loan their services out to those people?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. And it's interesting you bring that up because law enforcement working together, and West Texas communities do work together. We did send teams to El Paso, crisis teams. We did send crisis teams to Odessa recently, and I'm real proud of that we did that.
That was from the
fire and police. Yeah.
Emergency responders.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So we are West Texas strong, and regardless of what happens, our communities help each other, and that's what we do. It's who we are. Yeah. It's part of our DNA.
Yeah.
Now, I know Dave asked you before the show, but how is the police chief search going?
Very well. I don't think that will happen till probably end of the year, maybe first of the year, when we'll actually have finalists. But the search is on. It is a national search. Well, it's a great job.
As far as I could tell, the interim chief's doing a good job as well.
Chief Brewer's fantastic, and he's near the end of his career. He's a great man, and he is doing a great job. He gave us a presentation yesterday on changing the way we do scheduling, and this will help. Patrol used to be 12-hour shifts. They've now changed it to 10-hour shifts, and it basically does some layering.
Mm-hmm. It overlaps a little more.
Overlaps, so during high times of the biggest call loads, you've got more officers on the street.
Well, I think they'd be more rested as well. If they're only working 12 hours. If they're working 12 hours, my wife works 12 hours, and she works 3 12-hour days. It still only adds up to 36 hours. But you could actually go up to 40 hours with a 10-hour schedule. And
when you think about when she's done at the end of the day, it's very similar to police work. She may have a case in healthcare or in policing. You're still on one call. Mm-hmm. You don't just
drive
walk
away. Yeah.
You just don't walk out of the building.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times those 12 hours ends up being greater than that.
Yeah.
Or these 10 hours becomes greater than that, y'all. So,
you bet.
You want people to be energized, rested, alert, and I think this is a better way to do it. Plus, this layering gets, and we're changing actually the beat plan. They did analysis. Chief Brewer got analysis of calls all over the city and how it's changed, and that way we've actually changed as I'm showing you this map. I know it's lots of different little colors here, y'all, but it does make a difference as to what we used to have where patrols are, and so we're drilling down on higher crime areas.
So is it going to cost the city more money for overtime and more hours?
Great question. this actually, I'm glad you brought that up. I forgot to mention that. This actually will save us close to $300,000 a year because it cuts down on overtime.
Okay.
We're running late. Let's come back and we'll give you more time to answer that, Jeff. 7:18 here on Dave and Matt in the morning with Councilman Griffith regarding last night's city council meeting. Back with more after this. And we're back here on KFYO Mornings with Dave and Matt and Councilman Jeff Griffith. You know, we've been talking about a lot of city business because last night was the city council meeting. But one of the things that I've been asking this morning on the air is getting responses. This is 9/11. Of course, 18 years ago, the event that changed the course of American history for certain. The worst attack in our killed more Americans than any attack previously. And we were asking people, where were you on 9/11? Where were you, Jeff? Obviously you remember that. You're old enough to remember. Now, Matt was just a baby. He doesn't remember that.
I was 21.
Oh, okay.
Well, 21 to me, Dave, still a baby.
Well, I bring that up, but
He's still a baby to me.
I say that because
okay.
I'm so old that I talk about events that just happened. I didn't think maybe 15 years ago, and Matt wasn't even born then. So we run into that all the time.
That was not one of those events.
But 9/11 was not that event. But where were you on 9/11?
Back to a very serious topic, and I had breakfast and leaving for my store, and so I was just leaving the house, and just before I did, saw it on television, and you never forget.
Yeah.
You never forget.
Well, at first, we just heard that there was a plane that had just crashed in. I thought, gee, what? How weird is that? It didn't even cross my mind that this was an attack.
I think I felt the same way. The confusion of how could that happen? And then, obviously, when the second plane came, then you knew. But we live in the best country in the world, and it's sad that we have to think about this. I'm glad we do. It helps us remind us how lucky we are, how blessed we are, but how vulnerable we are.
Yeah,
as humans.
We can be.
Yeah. But,
we were talking about what were we talking about when
we
left?
Talking
I don't
about
know if you
crime and the new police schedule and the way the police are set up. Like I told Councilman Griffith here is in my area, I have noticed an uptick in police officers, especially during the times that kids are getting out of school, maybe that kind of time period.
Matt, and I think, and after we were analyzing your neighborhood on the new colored map, which I've got my wrong glasses on this morning, gentlemen, so bear with me, but it really, crime has no address, as we say. It's everywhere. This map helps us concentrate on areas. You're going to see, I think you'll see more patrol, especially by 5 o'clock in the afternoon is probably the heaviest time.
Yeah.
In less early morning, there's maybe not as many patrols.
Now, do you want to remind people what these people do? They're looking for stuff in cars. Keep stuff out of your cars. They're looking for easy pickings, and lock your cars.
Lock your car.
Don't put anything in there that you are afraid would get stolen, especially guns that are out. I mean, if it's one thing to have them in the garage, but if they're out in the I mean, there's always a possibility somebody grabs it, and then you don't want that to be used for a crime.
It's one of the main things they're after when they try to break into a vehicle. Thank you for saying that.
Okay, Dave and Matt, in the morning here on KFYO, we'll return with more after this. News Talk, 95.1 FM, 790 AM. This is KFYO Mornings. Dave King, Matt Martin here. Broadcasting from the Thacker Jewelry Studio. You can see that custom collection at 6120 82nd Street in Lubbock. And with us live in the studio this morning, again, City Councilman Jeff Griffith. And we've talked about the budget. We've talked about LPD. What about Citizens Tower? I keep driving by there and looking. It doesn't seem like they're making progress at a very fast rate.
It's all inside.
It is all inside right now.
Well,
the outside,
assume that's the case.
There's some more buttoning up to do. I think that we're on schedule. We're on budget. Is the good news. So the plan is sometime probably November, early December. I'm not going to drill down on that. What I am going to tell you is that it looks really good. I've been through it just a few weeks ago, and it's coming together very well. I'm very proud of it, but I will tell you that it's a big project, and
it is that.
Now that we've passed this budget, a component of that, y'all, is a block south of Citizens Tower will be where we'll construct. There's a vacant lot, and that's where we'll construct the new police administration building.
So when will we see movement on the garage that y'all are going to build?
That probably will start in. Gosh, I'm ballparking you, Matt. 6 months is when.
That soon, huh?
Yeah. So y'all probably already be open and in the building when y'all start.
Yeah, there'll be modified parking. Remember, you're moving over 450-ish folks into the tower, so it is a process. It won't be an overnight move-in. I assure you, it'll be staged.
Remote parking with shuttles, maybe?
Well, there's enough surface parking around early on till we get. I don't think we'll need off-site parking.
Hey Jeff,
the analysis I've seen.
We have a texter this morning that's asked a good question. It's one I have asked before. I'm of the same opinion. He says, please ask the councilman if there have been discussions with the police chief about creating a policy to stop engaging in high-speed pursuits. They almost always end with injury to innocent citizens. Thanks, Randy.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like in Odessa where they decided, I don't know what happened with that, but you had a guy that was in the police had to pursue, and he got out and started shooting people. I think that the police need to make that decision, not the city council. So that's my opinion.
You definitely don't want a $25 a month or making that decision, Matt. You're right. The ultimate deal is police are very aware of this. We went through this a few years ago. I do not need to be involved in that policy decision, but I know that Lubbock Police Department has modified their plan on chase because of some previous incidents, and that is a very serious issue. So I appreciate Randy's concern about that.
We've had, I know at least a couple come to mind here just in the last few years of Lubbock citizens who lost their lives.
That's correct.
That's correct.
One was at 19th.
Is Lubbock liable for that when in a pursuit situation like that?
It can be.
I would think so.
It can be.
So, one thing that we haven't gotten into yet is short-term rentals or like an Airbnb. Yeah. And I know Lubbock did a lot of work on that last night. So how did what direction are y'all going with that, and what kind of decisions did y'all make last night?
Thank you for bringing it up because we did spend a lot of time on short-term rentals. A lot of people would call it Airbnbs since they're the biggest gorilla in the industry. But the two things we did, right now Airbnbs, I'm going to call them Airbnbs so that everybody understands, but the true term is short-term rentals. But they now pay the state tax already. They collect in pay the state tax from their visitors. They don't pay the city part of the tax, what we call the hotel motel tax. That collection, we determined we will begin. We did modify the original ordinance, and that will happen on January 1st, 2020. So we're kind of giving a little grace period, if you will, this fall, Matt.
Yeah.
And we also created part of it is a registry. The other component is a registry, which means we will know who has in order not just for the tax collection, but you know who these operators are, because they are in neighborhoods.
So without Airbnb actually, collecting that with every single transaction, how exactly do you enforce that? How can you know when people are having short-term rentals and not?
Great question. Because their advertising mechanism is online, there is an entity that does monitor it.
But how do they know when it's rented out and not?
Well, it's very similar to hotels. We collect the hotel industry in Lubbock pays the tax to the state and then pays the city tax. Could there be some fraudulent non-paying? Absolutely. Of any of these, it's no different. Any business could try to not pay their sales tax. But in this case, this entity determines when it's rented and when it's not.
So let me ask you this: is it not if they're doing short-term rentals? Did we just not have a law on the books to collect that money, or is it? Are they liable for that money and they just kind of are getting a grace period because the city of Lubbock hasn't been looking at it?
We've been looking at it for a while. We actually, there were some bills in the state legislature over this, and we waited for the state legislature to end before we took action, because anytime the state does something, it basically overrides what a municipality does. So out of respect to them, we waited, and then we started looking at it. There is a whole lot of cities that collect the tax. They usually do it through third party, not just in-house. But we modified the hotel motel tax ordinance to include short-term rental, so that it's very much one and the same as a hotel.
So the other question is, do we have any idea how much money we believe this is going to bring in to the city of Lubbock?
It's probably in excess of $1 million, but we don't know that yet.
Okay. Well, it is 7:44. Let's take a quick break and come back with more of Matt and Dave and Councilman Griffith after this. News Talk 95.1 FM, 790 AM. This is KFYO Mornings. Dave King, Matt Martin, right here, talking with Councilman Jeff Griffith this morning. And at about 8:07 this morning, we have scheduled to appear as President Skuvanik, talking about all things Texas Tech. But I do want to remind you before we go on that, we're in that time of year right now where we have a lot of quirky weather, and you're going to be seeing some of it very shortly, where you're going to be running your air conditioner part of the day and running your heater part of the day. It is that time of year, and that means that one thing, it's time to call Scott over at Comfort Masters Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning and let the professional crew check out that system and make sure it'll keep you cool when you're hot and warm when you're cold. Now, Comfort Masters sells and services all brands of heating and air conditioning. Trane and Carrier are two of their most popular ones, but be assured that Comfort Masters will fit your home with the right system. Another great service is their Comfort Club, which I'm a member of, and it's one of the best things is one of the things I really do enjoy about them. They come out twice a year, before the heating season and before the cooling season. In fact, they're going to be at my house tomorrow probably to check out my heater and make sure that it's properly serviced and is going to make it through the heating season. They drain your water heater, make it last longer. And then in the spring, they come out before the cooling season and they check out your cooling system. Make sure you got Freon and make sure it's cooling correctly and serviced and ready to get you through the hot summer. So also, probably the best thing about it is when you need a plumber or you need to have your system serviced, you go to the top of the call list, and usually you get someone out within a matter of hours. So next time you're hot, remember to call Scott at Comfort Masters Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. 749-1000 is the number.
So, I was going to say, Councilman, one thing that you'd said is that they're raising the taxes by 1 cent, but they're also going to be lowering some of the stormwater fees. Is that going to help? Now, I know that a lot of small businesses have said that this is almost oppressive because of the amount that y'all went up on the stormwater. I say recently, it's not that recently, but it's up like
4 years ago.
Over what, $600 a month in some cases.
It could be if you're
if you have a large parking lot.
If you're a big box Walmart, grocery, car dealerships where you have huge parking, yes. Even my little business, I pay over $250 a month.
So for your business, would that go down?
Yes, it will.
Okay.
Thanks for bringing up stormwater rates, because that is in my opinion, the offset. It's not perfect, not perfect math for everybody, but for the average homeowner, for the average household in Lubbock, the stormwater rate goes down about over $50 a year. Okay, you won't go wow on your LP&L bill, city utility bill, but you will see it drop as we approved that rate reduction last night. So that'll happen in October.
I'm going to be honest. I think cool. Since they put in smart meters, I think my electricity bill went down. Because this summer it's been a lot lower than it was last summer, and I know that it was a little hotter last summer.
You've already got yours.
Yeah, I think they've already put it in. They came by and said it was going to go out. My electricity was going to go out for a minute, and it literally was less than a minute.
It was
fast.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to hear that. That project is ongoing for not just your electric meter for Lubbock Power Light, but the city water meters.
But the water, that's a newer thing, though. The electric has been going on for longer than the water, right?
Yeah, but there's over 110,000 water meters. Mm-hmm. There's about 90,000 electric meters. Okay. So it takes a while, y'all. And so it's interesting that you've already got yours changed. I haven't in my neighborhood, but it's probably another year away because it takes that long to change that many out. We have teams that are doing it. But the efficiency, to your point, it takes the human error out because anybody can make a mistake with a set of binoculars behind your fence, which is a little odd too if you think about it. But the ultimate goal is that you're going to be able to look at your phone, Matt or Dave, and monitor your electric usage. Mm-hmm. The end result is, and your water. So if you had a leak, or if you set your sprinkler system, if you have a sprinkler system for your yard, and you may go, wow, why am I using so much water? You may need to go back and check your timer, maybe coming on 3 times instead of 1 time a day, or if you have a leak in the yard, so or a running toilet, a leaky toilet. So it's a real good monitoring device. And it's a very efficient way of doing it.
No. Well, that just about does it. About wraps it up. We're up against the clock here, and always very insightful to have you out imparting some good information.
Thank you for having me. I've enjoyed
it. You betcha.
Y'all have a great day.